Hey guys, welcome back. It is Anime Death Spiral, the only anime podcast made with 100% cruelty-free weeb byproduct. And we're back again to talk about all things anime, as usual, nothing but anime. And the first anime thing I want to talk about is Nate's post-trip doldrums, your anime Japan withdrawals. Has it been difficult transitioning to a foreign culture?
It's honestly been hard to come back. I've been calling it reverse Paris syndrome, where I went to Japan and realized that everybody has it better than us, almost. And some people may call me alarmist, but I cannot go back to the bathrooms. I haven't been able to go to the bathroom since I came back.
These Baka Gaijin don't know what they're missing.
The toilets don't greet you. The showers are not an entire room that you get to walk into. We're living in the literal dark ages.
It is pretty egregious that I don't have an entire walk-in shower. That's true. Every house should have an entire walk-in shower. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing, people?
The convenience stores were on such another level. You know, I covered it last time, but it's disheartening to drive by a 7-Eleven these days.
I know. Is that the thing you miss the most
absolutely.
Right now? Yeah.
By far, the convenience stores are what I miss the most. Like having an actual good, varied stock of stuff that I actually want to eat.
Is there anything our convenience stores do better? Like, we must have, like, a better variety of cigarillo, right?
Oh, yes.
Gotta be, right?
Definitely more rolling paper options in America, that's for sure.
Yeah, there has to be.
Although it's funny, when I was there, we were walking around Don Quixote's big, like, 100 yen store.
Yeah.
In Osaka, and they had like a wall that was just all rolling papers.
Dope.
And my wife was like, well, why do they have rolling papers here? I'm like, I think that maybe people use them to roll cigarettes. Don't quote me on that, but I think some people may put tobacco in them.
That's right, people do roll like tobacco. I can't believe it. Of course. Do they have Rizlas? Is that international product?
Didn't see any, no.
Okay, let's get serious for a second. What is the state of vaping in Japan?
Oh, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's same thing. Don Quixote's, they sold cigarettes and vapes.
Do they have the shitty one-off ones? Or
yeah,
like
that's most
shit?
of it, actually.
Yeah.
So, unfortunate. But also, everybody just still smokes regular cigarettes there. Vaping wasn't huge, from what I saw. You know, I think what I'm going to miss the most is the 70-cent cans of, like, 8% booze.
That is pretty nice. I am very jealous of that. They have, like, vending machines with booze in them, right?
You know, that's not as common as we have been led to believe.
What?
I know.
I've been lied to?
You've been lied to.
These motherfuckers.
Did not see a lot of food vending machines and didn't see any beer vending machines outside of the hotels that we were staying at. You know, all the hotels definitely, you know, each floor had a vending machine room, and those ones you could definitely get, like, cans of Kirin Ichiban, or Sapporo, or whatever. But on the street, not so much. Didn't see any. What I did see a lot of were cigarette vending machines. They still got those.
Hell yeah.
And they are still the same ones from, like, the 80s.
That's so cool. Okay, I gotta say, of course, smoking is bad for you and you shouldn't do it. But can we please be honest? Like, it is cool.
Oh,
it's
smoking
cool.
Smoking is the only way to be cool, like in a visual way.
It's so fucking cool. I hate that we can be against something and also admit that it's fucking cool. You know what I mean?
I mean, come on. You got smoke coming out of your mouth. There's fire involved.
You ever see a John Woo movie?
Oh, yeah.
That's 90% of those movies are dudes smoking in a cool way. That's what makes those movies cool.
I can't remember the title, but I'm gonna find it and send it to you. In my many searches for trash rom-com anime, I found one that was like literally about two people that that meet and fall in love because they take their smoke breaks together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the guy who smokes behind the convenience store.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Of course I already know about that one. Yes. And
'Cause it's cool.
The gimmick is that he really likes the girl who works at the convenience store and doesn't realize that the girl smoking out back with him is the same girl. Which, I don't know how you...
Wait, what? Does she, like, wear a disguise when she goes to work?
I think she, like, does the 80s thing where she, like, lets her hair down. I don't know. I haven't read it. Maybe the guy has face blindness. I don't know.
I mean, that does not make a whole lot of sense to me.
No. Maybe it's when she's smoking, she looks so much cooler that it actually like kind of blinds him to who it actually is. I don't know. Seems weird to me, but you know, whatever. If I ever ran into my crush like hanging out behind the coffee shop or whatever, I'm 99% sure I'd recognize her. But you know, hey, maybe they're built different in Japan. I don't know.
But yeah, definitely one thing that I really miss from Japan are all of the cool-looking people standing around smoking and drinking in public.
Yeah. I would say if for anybody who hasn't traveled outside the United States, one of the things that is the biggest culture shock is realizing that everyone dresses cooler than Americans. I don't know what happened to us culturally that this is like our affliction, but everyone else has like a standard baseline for how, you know, well you should be dressing.
Well, you know, this isn't anime related, but you and I have been playing Dying Light 2, and we're often remarking about how in the Eastern European vision of the post-apocalypse with mutant zombies, everyone is still dripped out as fuck.
There is a consistent level of drip even for the most drab-dressed people. Like, it has to be brought up to it. There's a floor there, and it is much higher than in America. You know, one of the things that's really funny about like France, you know, a country, you know, known for being fashionable and smoking as well. Speaking of, you go there and like one of the first things you notice is like people don't generally dress to like stand out as much. Maybe if you're like out at night in Paris and people are like clubbing or whatever, but you will notice that like everybody is dressed to a certain level of coolness. Like you do not go beneath a nice looking outfit. Everybody might look a little bit the same, but there's nobody who looks fucking a slob or whatever. And that's just something that doesn't exist in America. Like, I'm sorry, we look like shit.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people who assume basketball shorts and a plaid button up. That's your Friday outfit. You know, put on some Oakleys and a backwards baseball cap, and you're out with the boys, my friend.
Okay, you're joking, but the amount of times I have seen people wearing button-up shirts with like shorts is so fucking egregious. It is like, it hurts me. It hurts little tiny holes in my soul.
Yeah, I'm not innocent in this. I've been known to rock some jorts with a button up, but you know, I was raised wrong.
Yeah, you're an American. They're the Bakugaijins have different standards.
So yeah, I miss people caring about how they look.
Yeah, I do too, every single day. What have you been doing since you got back?
Mostly
Nothing?
like feverishly trying to recreate several recipes of food that I ate over there.
Yeah.
I think I may have talked about it a little bit already, so I won't linger there. But the food lives rent-free in my head every day.
It's haunting you.
Yeah. So, you know, I definitely haven't been looking at plane tickets like by the hour.
No, of course not.
Listen, why don't you tell me about some anime?
Okay, so last episode I talked a lot about Natsume Arata getting married.
Right, about the serial killer.
Yes, because I really loved it. And I had really loved Yoreto, which they're both written and drawn by Nogizaka Taro. Nogizaka Taro also wrote and drew a series called Gideon of the Third, which is really funny. It's like a story set in the lead up to the French Revolution, but it only made 6 chapters before it got canceled, so R.I.P. Gideon. But Nogizaka Taro did spend years and years doing all the art for a series called Team Medical Dragon,
Okay.
which was written by somebody else. It was written by Nagai Akira, but it is a full-on, almost ER style, like, hospital drama. And I just, like, despite not being somebody who usually falls for that style of soap opera, really, I got sucked in so hard. I mean, there's like 200 chapters of this thing, and I read it like within the last week.
Oh, I see. You got the bug in you.
I did. I loved it. I really, really liked it. It's about, I mean, this is like, you could probably guess, but this is about an incredibly ambitious young assistant professor at the cardiothoracic department of a research hospital. And she's got her eyes on becoming a real power player in the hospital world. She wants to shake up the hospital.
That's Grey's Anatomy. You're describing Grey's Anatomy.
Pretty much, yeah. Hey, look, there's not a lot of deviation in hospital stories, but so she recalling her time working at an NGO in a war zone. She remembers hearing the rumors of this like badass rogue heart surgeon and like his godly skills. So in part of her power play years later, she decides to seek him out and recruit him into her team so that she can become the next head cardio professor at the research hospital.
Sure.
And she finds him, and he's like a real scamp, you know. He's got godlike skills, but he plays by his own rules, you know. He's like he's a real badass heart surgeon kind of guy.
You gotta love those scamps.
Yeah. He doesn't care about anything but saving the patient's life.
Mm-hmm.
And God help you if you get in his way. He joins the team, of course, on the condition that nobody gets to fuck with him. And he just goes on a hospital patient-saving rampage. And there's lots of really intense politics going on.
I'm imagining him like running from room to room with the defibrillator and just shocking people back to life one after the other.
Okay, check this out. Obviously, like the first like third of the manga is the recruitment arc where he goes between like different people and forms his team. And for one of the post-op care doctors who refuses to work with him because he hates like renegade doctors.
Oh, I hate those renegade doctors.
I hate renegade doctors. He kind of hates surgeons in general. I'm still unclear why.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover here with the Blackjack OVA anime from the 80s and 90s.
Yes, I constantly thought about Blackjack while I was reading it. But like this guy, he has like a heart condition and he like collapses on the street. And this rogue doctor pulls his car up and drags the jumper cables onto his nipples and just like shocks him back awake, which is an incredible moment. Incredible moment. And there's like, a lot of moments like that.
The episode of The Simpsons where Bart's in the Boy Scouts and he wants the knife. You know, Dr. Hibbert does the street appendectomy on Hans Moleman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I had my trusty knife.
You know what? I mean, that scene basically happens, but like deadly seriously over and over again in Team Medical Dragon. But it's really good. The characters are really well drawn out. The drama is impeccable. Obviously, the art is fantastic because Nogizaka Taro is like godly. This is an earlier work, so it's got kind of that roughness to it from the kind of the older, like 2000s era manga stuff. But it's great. It's really great. I'm not usually like a hospital soap opera guy, like I said, but like something about it just... You know what's interesting is that so much manga I read, and I read like a lot of like action stuff, like genre stuff, and all of the drama around like genre stuff in general is like a guy killing or being killed, I guess, in the most general sense. So there is something kind of fun about like an action story that's all about guys who are saving other people's lives. There is a uniqueness to that, right? it kind of feels nice every once in a while to read a story where the guy's power is to like save people's lives, right?
Sure.
It's kind of nice.
I mean, that's what I liked about Blackjack, you know. Obviously, it did it in a bit more... Oh, I haven't read Team Medical Dragon, so I don't know how fantastical it gets, but Blackjack was always fun for me because he was always, like, dead seriously focused on saving the patient at any cost. And for some reason, that made him, like, an outcast renegade in the medical field.
I obviously need to like go and read more Blackjack or whatever to figure out what exactly happened that got him exiled. I'd love to know. I do know since I watched the rest of those things, I did pick up on Pinoco's origin story, which is one of the most wild things I have ever read.
Yeah, it's a weirder aspect of the story, and actually that was like one of the few carryovers between the original Osamu Tezuka manga and the OVA, like 80s, 90s series that they did, which was much...
Oh, you can't... Go track that one down, dear friend and listener, because you will not see what's coming there, and also, of course, they kept it because it's incredible. Pinoco's origin story in Blackjack. Go get that shit. But no, unlike Blackjack, Team Medical Dragon is almost obsessively descriptive and detailed about the medical procedures that are happening. You should see the translator's notes. They're just reams and reams of all these medical jargon that they're trying to explain to the reader about, like, oh, so the left ventricle obviously connects to the upper left atrium of the heart. And when the upper atrium of the heart develops a weakness in the central membrane that connects the left and right atriums, this can be to a defect, which is usually fine, but it leads to in other cases a weakened heart can cause, and it's like it goes on and on and on about this stuff.
You see that all the time in a lot of different manga. It's kind of like baked into the structure of the format, because it's like most manga almost operate as like secondarily as an instruction manual for whatever the overarching theme of the story is. You know,
yeah.
So like you have an author who has an idea, and then they go and do I don't know how much research on this one particular topic that they want to structure the story around, and then in the process just kind of like dump everything in there, almost in a textbook format.
Yes, it is kind of one of the classic setups for a manga. Incredibly detailed, specific user manual plus human interest drama attached. Kind of a vestigial, like, bourgeois novel form growing out of the back of like a travel guide or a fix-it-yourself book or a cookbook or like this medical textbook. You know, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing that pops up a lot. But this one is insanely detailed, and it almost to the point where like I'm a big brave boy, and I don't have a lot of fears. I'm pretty fearless. I'm like a big dog, no fear.
Oh yeah, you sit at the adults table.
I do. I sit at the very brave adults table. I put my feet up usually, but medical stuff gets me. Like I definitely have like medical phobias, and seeing like open heart surgery over and over again in loving detail, did like definitely got me a little squeamish. But I guess that's a testament to how great the story is, because I pressed through like very quickly. It's a very fun story, and the bourgeois novel aspect of it is very engaging. All the heart stuff is like performed in like the most like tense and like dramatic way possible, so it's still fun to do. The characters are charming. If you liked George Clooney on General Hospital, you're going to love this. You are going to love this.
He was on ER.
Oh, fuck, he was? I thought he was General Hospital.
No, he was ER.
Damn, I got him mixed up. Was General Hospital the one with the secret like laser in the basement of the hospital?
Yeah, General Hospital was the much more cartoonish one.
Anyway, yeah, I had a really good time reading that.
Man, how embarrassing.
You know what? I was more of a Nip Tuck guy, so fuck off. Nip Tuck was my hospital show. And you know why?
Why?
Two chicks at the same time.
Oh, no.
Yeah, baby. Nip Tuck was sexy. It was the sexy surgery television drama. That one was... I actually really like Nip Tuck. It's the stupidest show ever made, but I really liked it. So I also read, and this, I do have shame about this.
Yeah, speaking of sexy trash.
Yeah, not really that sexy, but I also did read, after I think trashing it pretty early on in one of our episodes, I did start reading Mysterious Girlfriend X. You're familiar with this, of course.
Explain it again for our dear listener.
We did talk about this, right? I'm not making that up?
No, but it was a while ago.
Mysterious Girlfriend X is a rom-com. It's pretty light on the com, I gotta be honest. Not a lot of gags in this one. That's about a boy who makes the inexplicable decision to lick one of his female classmates' drool off of her desk one day after school. Yeah, it's pretty much as gross as that sounds. It's one of the most bizarre setups I've ever seen. Not the most. We will talk about the rom-com about pissing yourself at some point. We're gonna double back to that one.
You keep teasing it.
I know. Holy shit. But this is, yeah, so this develops into a drool-based high school rom-com where he discovers, after taking the drool into his own self, almost sacrament-like, he develops like a fever. The girl comes over to his house after hearing that he's been out of school for a week with fever, and she reveals to him that he has become addicted to her drool and is suffering withdrawal symptoms from the drool.
And what made you decide to double back and read through this?
Well, I finished Team Medical Dragon, and it was like kind of late at night, but not late enough for me to like try to go to sleep, and I needed to just throw something else on. So I clicked around, and it was like between this, there weren't a lot of updates. Recently, there was a new chapter of Goku Rakugai, which was cool, but very short. There was a new chapter of Tengoku Daimakyo, which is of course fantastic, still running, but there was a new chapter of Dandadan, but also those are only like 10 pages long. So they went through them real quick. I burned through my good stuff. Hey, there was a new Spy Family chapter, which was also good.
Oh, shit.
That is really not coming out fast enough, too. Like, we haven't revisited the main story in Spy Family for like 10 issues, which is really starting to bug me. But whatever. Anyway, the point is I ran through a bunch of stuff. And, I have a list of like very, very questionable manga that it's just sitting there in a folder, right? In a folder off to the side. That is like, this is too weird for me to ignore, but like too weird for me to like pick up and read. So I just picked one. I picked Mysterious Girlfriend X, and I'm not regretful of that decision. I think there is interesting things in it. I think developing a romance about a girl who has drool-based powers, bodily fluid-based powers, is fairly unique. I mean, I can say that at least. And the reveal, of course, and this happens in all these weird things, whenever you read some absolutely bizarre description of a manga, it generally boils down to, like, there is a strange element that is a metaphorizing agent for, some kind of subtext they're trying to get at, right? This is pretty standard stuff. So
Sure.
In this story, the girl herself is closed off. She has the long hair that blocks her eyes so people can't make eye contact with her, right? She's very closed off. She sleeps during recess and lunch so people can't come up and talk to her. This is, of course, where the drool comes from originally. She drools in her sleep. She talks very little. She doesn't like talking about herself. She doesn't want to make friends with anyone. She makes it very explicit.
Oh, yeah.
Over and over again in such a weird way. This makes me really sad when people say shit
she's
like
just
that.
like
I don't
me for
want
real.
friends. Yeah, and of course the other big metaphorizing agent here is that she carries around a big pair of scissors with her at all times. And of course, what do scissors do? They separate.
Sure.
Right? That could not be clearer. It's It's really on the nose. Anyway, of course, the saliva being something that is extraordinarily and intimate, right? Like swapping bodily fluids is also, again, a metaphor for sexual activity, right?
Swap and spit.
And and other fluids. Very early on, there's some other fluids that get involved. I won't elaborate, but
I would know. I've never kissed anybody.
Yeah, of course. You keep it dry at all times. Big dry boy over here.
Like a desert.
But the wetness here stands in for like a form of connection, and the wetness represents her ability to like mentally connect with the boy, because she has the power to like transmit direct thoughts and feelings by having somebody taste her, or having very specific people with the power to reciprocate, taste her saliva or other bodily fluids, and like understand what she's thinking, and she can taste theirs and understand what they're thinking. So that's kind of the main gag. Whenever she comes to like a sort of nonverbal impasse with the boy, they taste each other's spit and come to a better understanding of each other. So that's like where the spit comes into play. It's really that part of the story, and in that way, if I think about it like that, it is kind of sweet. Tale about two people who are especially this girl who's very awkward and doesn't understand how to express herself except for this extraordinarily bizarre way, and discovering somebody who's compatible with that bizarre way and developing, like, it sounds so cheesy, but like a love language of spitting into each other's mouths.
Okay, that all sounds great, but like, can you do it as, I don't know, mask your fetish a little bit more is all I'm saying.
I know. This is the problem with all these rom-coms, is like, it's clearly the author going like, hey, this is what I'm really into. How can I like work this into a story? The other aspect, the other big aspect, at least for the boy, is, and this kind of drives home the subtextual elements of what's trying to happen here, is a lot of the story plays into the boy's incredibly bizarre and vivid dreams. He has like a dreamscape that he escapes into a lot, which is again another element for like, this is all part of like kind of the dreamlike nature of the teenage romantic experience, I guess. It's all kind of dissociative in that way, I guess.
Sure.
So I don't know. Yeah, I'm torn a little bit. It doesn't play a lot with these ideas. I found like getting a little further into it, it sort of levels off on the weirdness, which I kind of think is dumb. They should really press on with the weirdness. Obviously, it's like your main feature. But what got me really interested in this was how it compares to Sundome, which again, I think we talked about a little bit, maybe on here, maybe not. I can't remember.
We talked about it a little bit. Again, both of these very briefly when we were talking about trash rom-coms a long time ago. Sundome is one. That's the author's barely disguised domination fetish, basically.
Oh, not disguised at all.
It's central.
Explicit.
No, it's central to the plot.
It is extraordinarily explicit, and it is almost what the story is about. What's interesting to me here is the connection between those two things, whereas like this is very much like the pop cover of Sundome, and it feels very artificial when you stack them together, even because they're so similar but distinct in that way. This is very much like a very lighthearted gag version of Sundome. But they're both about teenagers who are sort of pushing into the uncomfortable period of teenagedom where suddenly you get really horny and you don't know what to do about it. It becomes like almost an impairment to your day-to-day life. And what I like about both of these stories is, now generally that is especially in manga, where I think this stuff gets sexually dimorphized to an uncomfortable degree. The boys, this is a boy affliction, and the girls have to suffer for it because they have a whole different standard, right?
Sure.
Not to make this even more complicated, but I did also read a third aspect, a trinity of these three. That's called The World of Moral Reversal, that is about a girl who accidentally wakes up in a world where girls' sexual habits are guys and the guys' sexual habits are girls.
What?
Yeah. Which is very, very strange.
That is almost like sophomoric in its simplicity.
It is. But you know, the surprising thing is it's not actually that bad. It is an interesting exploration. It's not as good as I would like it to be, and it's not as curious about gender roles as I would like it to be, but it's better than you'd think. Anyway, the point being, the connection between those two is that aspect of it is not highly gendered like it is in a lot of other rom-coms. Teenage girls and teenage boys are both curious and participatory in like the sexual awakening, you know, and it's honest about those things in a way I really like. The difference being Sundome is like really interested in explicitly exploring like emotionally honest version of these stories, and Mysterious Girlfriend X is more about like writing a kind of an airy, goofy rom-com about it. But I do think the connection there is really interesting, and the fact that they don't shy away from like female sexuality is refreshing, to say the least, considering a lot of the trash rom-com we've talked about basically say like women are chaste and they're supposed to be, and they don't think about sex, and the ones that do are bad girls. They're the bad girls. Which sucks. It fucking sucks. I hate when they do that because it's so fucking untrue. I know, again, I'm not a Japanese teenager, but I know those Japanese teenage girls are thinking about sex. I know it. It's a human urge. We have to be honest about this shit. Come on with this shit. Anyway, that's what I think was interesting about Mysterious Girlfriend X, is it leans more towards that side of the rom-com experience, where like girls are allowed to also be interested in like the standard stuff of a high school romance, like getting horny and shit. It's honest about that. So props to that. Like good on you for approaching that in a more honest way than most manga rom-coms are allowed themselves to be. I don't know if I would like recommend people go out and read Mysterious Girlfriend X, but I don't know.
That's kind
I
of
had
the clincher at the end of all of this.
Yeah, I don't know. I
loved it. It was great. Don't read it though.
I do not love it. I got to make myself clear. If they had pressed the issue and this had developed into a more interesting and expansive version of this story, I could see myself falling in love with it, but it levels off and it sticks with its central gag and doesn't really elaborate too much, which makes it a little bit boring once you get past the initial shock of somebody drinking somebody else's spit constantly.
All right. Well, why don't we take a break here, and when we get back, we can talk about some more of this trash.
Yes. Let's do it.
Do you read me?
Oh boy. Well, I had to stew with my drool drinking thoughts for a second there, but I think I cleared them out. I think I'm ready to talk about something else.
You went and got yourself a big old cup of drool to sit down with?
No, I had to empty my drool cup, my chaw spit. An old Gatorade bottle filled with brown liquid. Dumped it out my window like a gamer bottle.
That's a very different ending to your name.
Imagine if everything was the same about Mysterious Girlfriend X, but she chewed.
Oh, no.
She's always packing a lip, like in class. Oh man, I want that so bad now. Okay, anyway, you finally, it's been a little while, so hopefully you didn't forget, but we did do an isekai challenge a little while back, and you finally, the first one you watched was the Kuma Bear Punch.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about that, but this time, because this just debuted or something, you watched I Got a Cheat Code in Another World and became unrivaled in my world as well.
That was another one of the answers that I got wrong in the Isekai challenge, if you're following with the lore, dear listener. And man, I wish I had not watched this one.
Okay, so this one just premiered, right?
Well, not just premiered. It's actually, it may have done a multi-episode premiere, but there's 5 episodes out at this point. I only watched the first one.
All right, so it ran for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's still running.
Okay, so give me the pitch for this one, because I don't know. I don't know what it is actually about.
You're going in totally blind?
Yeah. I have no idea what this one's about.
Yeah, I did as well.
Except for a guy having a cheat code in another world, and then I assume he becomes unrivaled in his world.
Here, actually, let's do this. Using your very extensive knowledge of isekai tropes, you tell me what it's about, and I'll just correct you when you get something wrong.
Okay, you want me to go through it? Okay,
yeah.
So I guess, I'm going to guess that there is a boy to young man aged person.
Yep.
A male, I assume.
Strong start.
Yeah, and he, for altruistic reasons, dies in an accident.
Not quite. Does not die. But there is an accident.
Does not die. There is an accident. He goes into a coma. He gets teleported.
No. He just gets. So we start off young man, overweight, not good looking, not socially gifted.
Oh no!
A real anime fan type.
Oh god. Okay.
And the first scene in the episode is him witnessing a girl outside of a convenience store getting harassed by a bunch of...
Oh, so it's one of those.
Yeah, by a bunch of no good nicks. So he gets his ass kicked by stepping in and trying to save her. Like the cops show up and they run off and they're like, "Oh, thanks for saving me. Are you okay?" And he does his whole like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna go. Bye." He does not have a great life. It goes through cartoonishly extensive paths to show the viewer.
Is there anything interesting in his suffering, or is it all just the same bullshit?
It's mostly the same bullshit. His parents hate him. His siblings hate him. But he had a wise old grandfather who was also rich, who's now dead. And left a sizable portion of his money and his house to the kid instead of the kid's parents. And that's why his parents hate him.
I mean, that is a dick move, to cut your own children out of your will. I mean, come on. That's harsh,
It's
man.
pretty funny, though.
It's funny, but it's harsh. So, just the same bullshit. Like, nothing actual bad has happened to him. Just...
I mean, he gets bullied at school. He gets beat up.
Who doesn't?
No, nothing bad. And in fact, he actually inherits enough money to own and live in a house by himself, like in high school.
What a piece of shit. I hate this kid.
Yeah. He sucks.
I would bully him. He sucks.
And so one day...
there are kids... Some kids have actual bad things that, like, make their life bad. Sorry. Anyway, what happens? How does he end up in another world?
So one day after getting beat up at school, he goes home and has a bit of a cry, and then literally just happens to discover a secret room in the house that his grandfather left him.
Great.
And he casually throws out, he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess Grandpa was like a rich world traveler, and he has all of these artifacts from around the world."
Sure, of
so
course.
we have setup, we have convenience. Anyway, inside this secret room that he discovers, which for some reason is behind a hidden panel in the bathroom. Not sure why.
Huh.
Yeah. It seems weird, but I'm not an architect. Anyway, inside this secret room, he discovers a door, a mysterious wooden door at the back of the room. And when he goes through, there's just another world on the other side.
What kind?
And fantasy. Standard, your Final Fantasy, your Dragon Quest, and whatnot.
Okay.
It is in fact it is literally the start of a video game. He walks through the door and he gets pop-up powers. He gets power of the game menu.
Great.
I'm not sure exactly where they're going. I'm assuming that this whole world is maybe some kind of elaborate simulation. kind of like a holodeck situation that his rich grandfather may have had built or invented. Unclear.
That sounds actually too interesting for like where the story would go. I feel like that's actually like giving it more credit.
Yeah, sure. Maybe they've yet to introduce some kind of like celestial being or deity that is granted him this good fortune. That seems to be in a lot of these.
Oh, no, well, here's my guess, and I guess maybe we'll never confirm or deny it here, but his grandfather didn't actually die. It's like his grandfather's like the wise sage or the king or whatever in this fantasy land.
It's possible, but they did, they did show him, like, he was in the room with his grandfather when he died of old age. Like, they showed that in a flashback.
I mean, that doesn't look good for my theory, but it does not rule out anything.
Maybe his spirit got isekai'd into the fantasy world.
Yeah, his body double, his copy.
Yeah.
His digital copy or whatever.
Well, okay, it's funny you bring that up, because that is exactly where this was going. He walks into this fantasy world, and the door leads to the inside of a abandoned wise sage's house, and like the first thing that he picks up after getting the pop-up powers, the menu powers, is a note on the table that literally says, this house belongs to whoever finds this paper, signed the wise sage,
who is his grandfather, obviously.
Yeah, that's gotta be the way it's going.
Gotta be.
Anyway, he starts going through his menus, and he discovers that he has a stat page, and obviously he has 1 in every stat. Not good stats at all.
Sure.
Yeah. As he goes, he keeps getting pop-ups explaining what all of his new cheat code powers are. And there's no real explanation why. Like, this all just happens. Like, he takes 1 step into the new world, and the pop-up menu says, congratulations, you have the Other Worlder perk, which grants you all of these abilities.
Wow, that's...
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
You got the isekai perk.
Basically.
Wow. I mean, literally.
And so,
that's really
he finds a box of legendary weapons and armor, and he discovers that the house has an impenetrable force field around it that monsters can't get into, and so he can farm monsters from inside of his force field.
He kites monsters into the no aggro zone and then defeats them like that?
Yep.
That's the most bullshit. I hate this kid even more. That sucks so bad. Fuck you, kid.
So anyway, after also he discovers that there's a garden that produces vegetables that give him power-ups.
Jesus Christ.
So it's a video game, it's a JRPG.
Sure.
And also the funniest power, this was my favorite one, is he has the sell any item ability.
Wait, you can't sell any item without an ability? Commerce is locked behind us.
Well, let me explain. The way this works is when he defeats monsters in the fantasy world, and they drop, whatever it is monsters drop, crafting items, equipment, junk,
sure,
whatever, like you'd get in a JRPG. When he goes back through the door to the real world, because there's no restrictions on that, the instructions explicitly say that he can go back and forth whenever he wants, and the door can never be destroyed. When he goes back to the real world, it automatically converts all of that stuff into, like, actual real-world cash.
But wasn't he already rich?
Yeah.
Wow. Fuck this kid. Okay, so, we need to come up with some kind of metric for this at some point, but, like, how... from the start of the show to... the first anime lady that falls in love with him, how are we talking? The first 15 minutes?
They haven't introduced an anime lady yet.
Wow.
Not in the first episode. First episode ends with him grinding stat points in the fantasy world, and then coming back and realizing that made him hot.
Yes, of course.
And the episode ends with him going to school and everyone being awestruck at how hot he is now.
That is a very big thing in manhwa.
Yes, it's very much in the vein of like Solo Leveling or stuff like that.
Yes. A huge part of that is like anybody who like becomes powerful or like heroic or whatever automatically becomes hotter.
Yeah.
Because ugly people can't be strong or heroic. Everybody knows that.
I mean, going a little bit more serious here, the implication of that is really fucking gross to me.
Yeah, it sucks. It's really bad. It's really, really disturbing. So here, I'm throwing another one out here. How detailed was the character design of the girl he saves at the beginning? Is it detailed enough that she can like come with him through the door at some point?
Oh yeah, she's definitely coming back.
Okay, so she's definitely going to be like one of the anime ladies.
Yeah, unclear. She wasn't wearing like a school uniform, so I don't know if she's like a classmate of his yet, or what, but definitely emphasis in design enough to have her being like a recurring character. She was not a background character.
If she transfers into his class, it's over, dog. Like, she's in. Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's what I watched.
Hold on. Was there anything like redeeming about this first episode?
No, it was all trash.
Not even one thing. Wow, that's.
I'm trying to think here, and no, it strikes as a beginning of a school shooter manifesto.
Oh boy.
It's got those big vibes. Everyone is stupid but me. No one has ever given me a chance just because I'm ugly, which, to be fair, that's probably true. But, don't be bitter about it.
Isn't it one of the unspoken things in all of these is like, well, maybe it's because you're such an asshole about everything.
Well, what really put me off about the whole thing is how far they went to show that even his family hates him for no reason whatsoever, other than I guess he's overweight and ugly.
They just hate him.
Like he
came out like them.
He has a twin 6-year-old brother and sister, and they had a flashback where he went to his room and they had written "Inheritance Stealer" on his door.
Oh,
in
man, really
in silly crayon little kid font.
Yeah, of course. That's really funny. Okay, great. Well, that sucks. You know how we really try to be positive on this show, really try to dig in and find the silver linings, but that sounds really desperate.
Hey man, you're the one who told me to watch it. That was part of your challenge.
And you've got a few more, if I remember correctly.
Oh no, I hope you wouldn't.
Yeah, you've got a couple more. Well, you got to line something up for the next episode. Can I tell you about the isekai I watched by my own free will?
Yes, please do. Enlighten me.
I went ahead and I watched a show called Why Raeliana Went to the Duke's Mansion, I think.
I believe the actual title is How Raeliana Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion.
Record scratch.
You may be wondering how I ended up at this Duke's Mansion.
That time I jumped off a bridge and ended up at the Duke's Mansion.
Well, no, hold on. Okay, to be fair, when I saw you put this on here, I went and watched the first episode just to have a primer on what we're talking about. And she did not jump. She was very clearly pushed at the beginning of the episode.
Oh yes, she was very clearly pushed, and I'm calling it now. I'm gonna put a finger in the air right now. I think her future self pushed her so that she could have this experience.
Oh, that would definitely, that would make sense.
It's only 4 episodes in. We have no idea whether any of that kind of thing is even possible at this point, so it's just my base speculation, but I have a feeling about this one, I get the feeling about this one. So now it's important because of how much we just shat on that isekai that we make the distinction. This is much more in the villainous vein of isekais, wherein you could almost call it like the shoujo strain of isekai, where a girl kind of gets put into the oh no, I'm a beset upon young lady and I'm surrounded by these dubious sexy men. Oh, how will I ever extract myself from this precarious scenario.
I mean, these are basically like grocery store novel section, like romance, bodice burster type stuff.
Yes, she makes it very clear at the beginning that her favorite book is a trashy romance novel, bodice ripper for sure. And she seems to have strangely memorized the book back to front, which is crazy. I have a lot of books that I really love, but I don't know if I've ever memorized the entire book. But after getting pushed off a parking garage, I think, right?
Somewhere, bridge, parking garage.
She wakes up as a character. She takes over the body, to be very specific, of a character in her favorite romance novel. And it just so happens to be one of the characters that gets killed off early.
Yeah, and so her goal now becomes, with foreknowledge of how the book ends, trying to not only die a second time as part of the novel, but figure out who killed her in the real world.
Yes, which seems impossible from the inside of a book, but who knows? So she sets out and she uses this foreknowledge to do a little bit of cheating. Now, the thing that got me immediately was, and this shouldn't really be a spoiler, this is an incredible logical straight line between 2 points, but when you change the story of a book, you no longer know what's going to happen. So she immediately starts fucking around with the narrative of this book and throws away basically her biggest advantage.
Well, okay, so I was assuming when I was watching the first episode that they were going to go with a much more, magical realism aspect where, like, she is trying to change the story, and by virtue of already being written, like, the story would always find a way to justify continuing in the way it was written. But they didn't end up doing that, and I was actually very disappointed because I thought that sounded much more interesting.
Yeah, so that's one of my 2 complaints, really, is they don't attempt to address that kind of thing, which, maybe a complaint is too strong. I think it's just it's a choice they made. I think in universe, it seems like a bad choice for her to throw away one of her biggest advantages, and she does immediately fuck up the story. It goes in a completely different direction, almost immediately. I guess my other thing is that the character, once she's in the story, everything kind of just plays out as if she was a person in the story to begin with. Like, maybe the implication is, like, she's so good at acting and she's so knowledgeable about, like, this particular kind of Western European, maybe like British aristocracy setting, that she kind of just very easily slips into character. But, like, everything feels like it's kind of a naturalistic world instead of, like, the incredibly heightened romantic surrealism, really, of, like, a romance novel. If you've ever read one of those super horny romance novels, like, it's kind of cartoonish, right? And in the story, even though it's an anime, so in that way it is, all the characters are cartoonish, it is not played up in a way that I thought the premise of the show would do an interesting thing with. So that is my other complaint so far of Raeliana. It's only 4 episodes in, so we'll see how it goes. But it is at least refreshing from the isekai perspective that this is a story where she doesn't have, like, special powers. She doesn't have a cheat skill. She's not, like, a
Well, no, hold on.
loser.
I know that you just went on that whole thing about how she's, like, started changing the story immediately, but, like, she still has foreknowledge of, like, characters from the book. Like, she still knows how certain things are going to happen.
She has access to knowledge that the character in the book would not have access to. Yes. Yeah.
That's a huge cheat skill.
That is a certain amount of advantage that she gets from that. But at the same time, she is basically a woman in Victorian era London. She's kind of at the mercy of the tides, as it were. Not in the strongest position to use that foreknowledge, which is not bad. That's where the drama comes from, right? Is she's in a powerless position and she has to use the tools at hand to, like, navigate her way through this dangerous scenario, which is cool. I mean, that's the central mystery that is actually interesting about the show and is something I like. I think that's probably why I'll probably keep watching it. I think it's kind of fun in that way. We'll see if that dramatic element of it continues. I hope it still plays into like a murder mystery kind of thing. So her playing this game, this dangerous game where she's trying to avoid getting murdered inside of the novel is fun. It's a really fun setup. I'm excited to see if they play with it in more weird and interesting ways. I wish the animation was better. Not better, but I wish there was more animation in the series. But, whatever. It's a mid-budget show. I can live with that.
Well, fair enough. Tell me one thing before we move on here. This started off as a manhwa, right? This was Korean.
I don't know the backstory of this one, surprisingly enough.
I looked into it, and it did start off as a series of Korean light novels that got adapted into like a manhwa webtoon type thing.
Yeah. Not surprised to hear that in the least. This very much comes off as a manhwa style. I think a lot of the villainous stuff does come from manhwa to begin with. So
I do think it's funny that in the anime adaptation, they changed everybody to be Japanese and gave everybody Japanese names.
Hey, it's how it goes. I don't know what to tell you.
Just saying, if you go and look up the wiki for this one, you will notice none of the names match what's in the anime.
Yeah. Well, it would have been kind of fun if they went that direction, but I don't think they do that very often. So we actually watched 2 dueling isekais this time. That's kind of interesting.
I mean, I was excited to see one from a female perspective. It's not something that you get a lot of. It exists, they're out there. I know about them, but the real awful ones are mostly male-centered, and it's pretty gross.
I don't know why we've so far talked so much about isekais. Actually, I do know. It's because we're so engrossed out by it. But we have talked way too much about isekai. Let's move on before we get sucked back into shitting on them. Let's take another break. Guys, so I want to talk about something that we've been working on a little bit behind the scenes here, very, very early on, but I've been putting together a bit of a project in my solitude, my wizened hermit on the mount existence. It compels me to do stupid things like writing fiction. And so one of the projects that I've taken upon myself and that we're working together on is the Shonen King, which is, of course, the Stephen King shonen.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think that there's a lot of potential here.
Now, we're both big Stephen King fans and haters, obviously.
I mean, big love to Stevie out there. I wouldn't call myself a hater. To him specifically.
I'm a lover and a hater, baby. I think some of his books are great. I mean, I think Carrie, indisputably a great book. The Stand, indisputably one of the worst books ever written. So I'm on both sides, baby. I'm on both sides. I love him and I hate him. Between both of us, I think we've probably watched every single Stephen King adaptation at this point.
Oh, definitely. I think that my catalog in the world of King is pretty, filled out. At least in terms of movies. I haven't read a whole lot of the actual novels myself.
Yes, I've read not every one of them, and I'm never going to, because once we get to like mid-90s literary Stephen King, man, there's just like a fucking, besides Dark Tower, it really feels like a graveyard. But that's fine. Whatever. He had a solid 20 years of like big ups and downs. So the idea being we combine these two things, obviously our love and hatred for anime and our love and hatred for Stephen King. This is like the terrible milk chocolate and the disgusting grocery store peanut butter combination that we love that goes so well together. And kind of putting together like I want to stress this: it's not a multiverse, right?
Yeah, let's
Stephen
be
King.
upfront about this. This project is not the Dark Tower.
It's not the Dark Tower, and it's not a multiverse. These aren't worlds colliding.
What's that show that they did? Castle Rock. It's not a Castle
Rock. It's similar. It's more similar to a Castle Rock than anything, because in Castle Rock, a lot of the characters are normalized into the Castle Rock world, and they are kind of differentiated enough from their original context to like be distinct characters, even though they represent old characters. You know, Annie from Misery exists within Castle Rock, but it's her younger nurse self.
Sure.
And she's just a sinister nurse and not a recluse with a big pig. So that's kind of...
Well, really what we're trying to describe here is the shonen version of like a high school AU for the Stephen King
I hate
catalog.
to put it in those terms. I hate it. I hate to call it an AU. I do not like that. Nothing wrong with that. It just personally makes my skin crawl. But I guess that is what it is. I gotta own up. Sure. We want to take Stephen King's oeuvre and kind of mush it together like wet clay and reform it into the shape of like our favorite shonen. And you know, we have some pieces on the board already. You know, I don't want to seal it too soon, but I think we want to use Danny Torrance as the main character.
Well, you know, let's before we get too into the structure of it, I mean, that is a good place to start, but
let's just say we have a starting point, which is Danny Torrance as our main character, and let's just talk about shonen tropes and things that we want to represent. A character who has amnesia and they've forgotten all their cool powers.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
What do you think about that? Because I love that one. I love when they unlock their past selves and they get like a bunch of cool powers back. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, not my favorite personally. I like to see natural growth from start to finish. It feels unearned to me. If they like, you know, just already knew all this stuff and are just kind of waiting to unlock it like power-ups in a video game. I think that's a little flat.
Okay, well, what are you thinking? What do you like?
What I like are, you know, a large cast of supporting characters that the main can rally around in times of need. You know, friendship's
Sure.
a big thing about shonen,
course,
and
of
Danny's
course.
gonna need his unique cadre of superpowered friends.
Oh, he's gonna put together a crew. What are you thinking? Like enemies to friends kind of thing?
Oh,
like
enemies to
redemption
friends
arcs?
is always a good way to go. I like that.
You love a redemption arc. He beats the shit out of somebody and then they become friends for some reason.
You know, I like when you set up a singular character as kind of like the first season villain, and then you know they get to defeat them at the end of the first major arc, but then it turns out that there's an even bigger threat that was controlling them, and now they're on the good guy's side. That's a good one for me.
Check this one out, right? So you battle a bad guy, and as the story progresses in the battle, you find out that actually the bad guy's only doing it because of like a good reason, like a really tragic but good reason, and actually they just needed some sense beaten into them to bring them back into the fold.
Okay, yeah, kind of like I think they do a pretty good version of that in Gurren Lagann. You know, because you have the Beastmen; those are the initial bad guys. But then it turns out that they're just oppressed by an even higher cosmological order.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that happens in a lot of Trigger shows, right? Because like, basically every bad guy in Kill la Kill ends up as her companion by the end, fighting the greater war.
Well, I mean, Kill la Kill is, you know, maybe one of the best animes of all time for many reasons.
I do think it is one of the most perfect shonen, so definitely want to borrow a lot from Kill la Kill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this seems incredibly obvious, but like a tournament arc is a must-have.
Yes,
right?
Need a tournament arc. Absolutely need a. You know, I love a line of unique and interesting villains. Or not even villains, just challenges that the protagonist can overcome. You know, I like it
yeah.
when everybody has like a very specific and esoteric theme about whatever their fighting style is.
Oh yeah, and we reveal the tragic backstories as the fights unfold, increasing the tension and making the stakes like feel really palpable. We are like 4 or 5 dudes deep in the crew acquirement, and we go into a tournament arc, and then some of the people end up also joining the crew at the end. Some of them end up defeated, and some of them go on to be even bigger villains.
Yeah, the classic Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah. Basically half of all Yu Yu Hakusho that takes place in that
Yu Yu Hakusho is just 3 tournament arcs, one after the other.
No, there's like 4 or 5 episodes at the beginning where they're doing ghost hunting.
Nobody talks about those.
Forget about those. Obviously, like Baki is the best example, I feel like.
Yes. Well, I mean, Baki is just tournament arcs for 40 years.
Love Baki. Oh God, I love Baki. You know, we should give Danny like a cute little mole right above his.
I like
mouth.
that. Well, you see, I would love it if Danny and Jack had like a Baki and Yujiro kind of relationship.
Oh, that is perfect. Actually, yes, that 100%. That is locked in.
Yeah,
I love that. That is going to be in it for real.
Can Jack Torrance just be absolutely ripped to shit, like muscles bulging out of every angle?
Okay, well, so here's a shonen thing, right? Evilness gives you powers. Like, it's the shortcut to power, right? It's becoming evil.
Yes.
And that's why goodness wins in the end, because, like, goodness is a power that's developed. It's grown. It's trained. It's honed. Whereas evilness is, like, given to you. It's corrupted. It's like, it's the cheat way to become powerful.
Oh, well, here's what I always see, and you know, this is just my interpretation, but I see a lot in shonen where you have the one character who starts off on the good guy side and then falls to evil to gain, you know, power much more quickly for whatever reason. Your, you know, very basic example.
Yes. This is a character who starts in the squad, and is usually like a pretty cool guy, or like he feels like he's kind of like he's got an edge to him.
I mean, we can just call him the Sasuke.
Sure, the Sasuke for sure. Yeah. As the main character progresses in power, they realize there's being left behind, and they develop a grudge.
Yes,
and the grudge is taken advantage of to become an evil guy. He's given power, and he loses that power when he is defeated by the good guys, but he finds something even better: friendship.
Yes, I mean, that's what I was trying to get at, is a lot of this time it's a single person trying to gain power very quickly, and then realizing that the power of teamwork and friendship was the real strength.
Right. Now, another thing that's great is Wise Mentor.
Oh, yeah, you need the sensei.
A training arc. Yeah, you meet the sensei. There's a cool training arc. This is usually when his powers are augmented with like a certain synergistic attribute. You know what I mean?
You know, bonus points if the sensei is like maybe he's like a lush or a womanizer.
Well, that's not my favorite part of the sensei. I like it more when the sensei is like. He's like I don't want to say tsundere, but like he only trains him begrudgingly, and he does it almost tangentially as part of his like negging. You know what I mean by that?
Who's the character from the Dead Zone? That should be the sensei character.
Oh yeah, the guy who is gonna kill the president.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely. He would be a great sensei, actually. And he has a very tragic backstory that turns him into like an isolated weirdo.
Yeah.
Remember, he loses his girlfriend when he goes into the coma, and when he tries to come back, she's like married with kids.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really good too. I think that really fits.
Okay, how do we want to approach the very sensitive topic of the shonen trio?
The Narusasukure?
Yes.
Now,
the goofy guy, the cool guy, and the girl.
Yes, it is very difficult. Now I think of my goofy guy as, you know, the Naruto is going to be Danny, as we've established. So now I think Danny is not so much of a goofy guy.
Danny's kind of like a somber character, though. You know,
he's a timid, brooding character who wants to be good and cheerful, but is held back by his previous traumas and his uncertainty about his own abilities.
He's more of like, who's Yuta from Jujutsu Kaisen 0?
Yeah. He's also, I think of him as like the main character in Shonen X.
Okay.
Who I forget his name, but they have a very similar Naruto Sakura in Shonen X that I kind of really want to base on, which is actually includes a lot of the elements we just talked about. The main character is sort of, he's held back by his feeling of powerlessness after traumatic experiences, that he couldn't do anything about. And his best friend that he kind of latches onto because he's capable and he's cool and he's like he's one of the like shining examples of like cool and goodness, who eventually becomes the bitter guy who desires power because he sees his friend surpass him. And then the third girl is a humble but like kind of spunky, rambunctious girl who stumbles into power that she doesn't abuse because she's so good-natured that it just kind of comes naturally to her.
Okay.
Now that is something we obviously have to tweak, because I don't think that character exists anywhere in Stephen King.
There are very few characters in Stephen King that I would describe as naturally good-natured.
Yeah, or
not that there isn't,
spunky.
not that they aren't there, but they are few and far between. Yes, definitely less in number than greaser bullies.
Oh, we have a million greaser bully demons.
Oh, by the way, we are going to have greaser bullies in this, right? In the form of like Japanese high school delinquents with the pompadours.
Oh yeah, evil 50s greasers are all over this thing. I mean, they are they're the cannon fodder, basically. They're the small fry. They're the NPCs. They're the NPC mobs.
Oh no.
Yeah, so this actually, the Naruto Sakura presents us with an interesting challenge, because we don't really have a typical girl who fits in to the Sakura role. A lot of the women in Stephen King works are either almost completely one-dimensional or very fucked up. My first thought is like Fran from The Stand is a fairly good-natured, strong female character, even if she is fairly two-dimensional. But she gets kicked around a lot in that book, and she doesn't end up with any kind of like particularly interesting features. We'd have to do a lot of remodeling. You know what I mean? It's not a whole teardown, but definitely a heavy remodel.
Sure.
What's her name from It is another candidate, obviously. But she
Beth?
has an incredibly Beth has an incredibly traumatic past that kind of makes her not a great fit. She would fit, I think, but again, it's a kind of a remodel scenario there. Let's see. There's no girls in Stand By Me. There's the girlfriend in Salem's Lot, but she's a big nothing. She dies.
This is a bit of a tangent, but this may be another project to work on in the future. But I would totally watch a like anime girl band rendition of Stand By Me,
where they go to see a dead body.
Yeah,
one of them gets hit when they're walking on the tracks. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of other characters that would fit in there. This is a really tough one though, because like Carrie, I'm reserving. For obvious reasons. She's going to be an enemy to friends later on.
Oh, okay. I like that.
She has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, she just has to be, right? Because we have to give her nice natural arc. But unlike Stevie, we're not going to punish her at the end. We're going to bring her in. We're going to redeem her.
Okay, can I posit this?
Yeah.
Overlook High School.
Explain yourself.
The Shining Hotel, but instead of a hotel, it's a school. Seems pretty self-explanatory.
Well, I kind of thought that we had the Shining Hotel, the Overlook, would have been part of Danny's traumatic past that informs his character.
Oh, so you want to keep all of the Shining canon to this?
No, I would change it a lot, but I feel like because it's so central to Danny's motivation and his past trauma that it seems like a waste to throw it all away. Like, who is Danny without that experience? You know what I mean?
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I mean, I'm not saying we can't use like a haunted high school. There's plenty of haunted places in Stephen King books, but maybe not that particular haunted place.
Well, keep thinking on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think, the high school setting is obviously one of the most classic shonen tropes, so we do want to make use to the fullest extent that we can there. Danny is going to have, like, Chunin disease for sure. There are going to be mysterious transfer students, obviously. There's going to be a teacher who turns out to be like an evil monster, 100%. That's going to be in there.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. There's going to be...
I assuming there's going to be vampires.
100%, of course. They're not going to be... They're going to be the fucked up anime vampire that's, like, not really a vampire, though. You know what I mean? Like,
that's just kind of like an attractive person.
Or like some kind of fucked up monster that they call a vampire for whatever reason, I definitely like that. I would love to do a school arc where, like, the kids have to do some kind of, like, school adventuring for sure, kind of like a Seven Mysteries of the School kind of thing. That would be a great arc.
Okay, all right. Oh, who are the two dudes from, sorry, going back to vampires for a second, who are the two dudes from Salem's Lot?
Well, that's Ben Mears is the grizzled sensei, and Mark something is the kid.
Ben Mears should absolutely have, like, the round glasses and wide brim hat combo from Alucard in Hellsing.
Oh, for sure. I do think of Ben Mears as one of the grizzled senseis, at least from one arc. Cannot give up on that because that's too good. It's too good.
Sure, absolutely.
Either that or he is, like, the connection to a secret organization. That's a shonen thing I've always appreciated, some kind of, like, mysterious organization that our characters can be brought into, You know what I mean?
I think that there's extra points there if you show them, like, backlit in shadow their first appearance, so we only really get the outline of their character designs.
Oh, hell yeah. Now, the one thing I do have to put my foot down on, and this is pretty common in shonen, is that the mysterious organization a lot of times turns out to be, like, the feds. You know what I mean?
Oh, cops.
I don't want my characters to be cops. Like, nobody gets to be cops.
That's a hard rule in this one. No cops.
No one's going to be feds. No one turns out to be FBI. Like, I have to... No secret, like Men in Black. That is not happening. We've gotta draw a line.
The more I think about it, like, Firestarter is basically a shonen plot to begin with anyway.
Yes, and you know what? What's her name? I just call her Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore in Firestarter would be one of the better characters to slot into that, like, rambunctious, scampy Sakura slots.
Oh, yeah. What do you call it? More agreeable Asuka type.
Yes, because she, in the book, I can't remember the movie too well right now, and I didn't watch that new one. So don't know how that plays out. But she, bad things really do happen to her. She has a pretty traumatic experience, but she doesn't come out the end of it like evil, twisted person. She's kind of hopeful for the future. She keeps her spirit lit, as she keeps the spirit of rebellion lit inside her.
More of a Nobara type from Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, and she also fights the feds. So
yeah.
she fights the feds, which is perfect. Yeah, I think these are all things we have to kind of take into consideration. I think we're starting to build up a good idea of what Shonen King is gonna end up looking like. We're gonna have to start taking this big lump of clay and kind of hacking away until we masterfully find the beautiful sculpture inside, as they say.
We'll keep developing this. We'll give you updates, dear listener.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, the end goal here being, like, we'd like to get it into a working state and then present it to you, obviously, my best friends and my dear listeners, and for your listening pleasure, because,
I mean, let's not be, duplicitous here. The end goal is to sell the story back to Stephen King, make $1 million, and move to Japan.
I do think, Stephen King is not unpopular in Japan. Like,
it's true.
He is a presence. He is a presence there.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I've read things even recently that mention how popular Stephen King books are in Japan.
Dolores Claiborne is huge there.
Oh, I bet. Hey, it gets name-dropped in 20th Century Boys, which is very apt, because actually there's a lot of interesting comparisons you can make there. But this could be a great, we could write this up. We could be sell it to a mangaka, get our own anime going, eh? What do you think about that? That'd be kind of cool, right?
That's the dream. That's the dream, baby.
All right. Well, we'll take that out into the back and kind of whip it into shape. I think it might take a little while. We might not talk about it for a little while, but I'm gonna keep working on it. We're gonna hammer away, see what we end up with.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a lot. We didn't talk about as much anime this time, but you must be full up, right? As friends and listeners, that was a fair amount of anime.
They're up to their ears in anime right now.
Yeah. And, you're probably playing catch-up from all the other great anime we talked about in the previous episodes. So.
Because I know, dear listener, that you are watching all of these recommendations.
You are watching and reading at our pace, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're burning through this shit just as fast as we are.
I mean, we are talking directly to you, our best friend, the listener. I know what you've been reading. You really need to catch up.
This is not a parasocial relationship. I feel like we haven't stressed that recently, but I want to make that clear. We are actually your friends. Please think of us as your real, actual friends. And thank you again for sitting down on the couch with your best friends and talking anime. I really liked what you had to say this week.
It's true, and you know what? I upload these episodes to YouTube. That is a great way to comment and get your questions and topics in here.
Yeah,
gotta plug it, man. We have to do some self-promotion.
You're totally gonna do that. Okay. Well, you best friends and best listeners, go get us more listeners and best friends. Collect them for us. We'll put the work onto you because apparently we're too lazy to do it.
It's true.
Oh, okay. Well, with that thought, I think I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done.
I don't want to think about this anymore. Okay. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye. I'm thinking we should probably do this podcast at like a 95 BPM. He really keeps the pace up.